All right, wrestling fans, welcome back to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And you got to hear my disgusting belch before we took our break, drinking some beer as we're recording the show here. But welcome back to episode 118. We are going to be reviewing March 17th, 1985, Madison Square Garden. But before we get to that, I would like to let each and every one of you know we would really appreciate it if you would check out the Reliving the Extreme podcast. Yes. Our other show that Aaron and I do with ECW, as he calls himself, ECW participant. I always call him ECW star, and he's like, well, I was a participant. ECW star, Chad Austin, as we are week to week reviewing ECW, going through the history of Extreme. It is a great journey we're on. We're only 15 episodes in now, so you can catch up. They're about an hour a piece. You got time now to catch up with us as we're reviewing it. And I highly recommend, before listening to the show, going back and watching the show that we're going to be watching, because definitely, especially right now, the stark difference between what ECW started as and what it became, it's crazy to watch it. I mean, we just watched an episode from July 6th of 1993, and the main event, I mean, not the last match, but the technically main event of the show is a number one contenders match between the Sandman and Ivan Koloff. Yes, Ivan Koloff was in ECW for more than a week. When he first arrived on the show, we were all like, oh, this is just a one-off, or this is something they recorded in 92 or whatever. But now he's been around for like a month now with his goofus new protege, Vladimir Koloff. But yeah, it's fun. It's a great time watching ECW, reviewing the shows with Chad. And also, if you're not a member of our Facebook group, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Join the group. Free shit. We give away free shit. Bitches. There will be the return this year in 2021. I am going to bring back That's Not Wrestling. So that will be returning. And, of course, Trolley Trivia is coming to the Facebook page very, very soon.
I have to lock down a day that I will be available to do so, and that Nate could possibly join me, and Aaron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, can I participate in both?
You were going to be
wrestling
you're going to be my Ed McMahon on Trolley
Trivia.
Heyo.
I'll just make dick jokes and go, heyo.
There you go. That works.
And I'll be Rodney Dangerfield. I'm okay today, Archie, but yesterday,
I wanted you to be Doc Sorensen.
Doc Severinsen?
Severinsen,
yeah. But again, join our Facebook group. We have great conversations. That's where we're getting these matches that we're reviewing on the show from listeners and participants in the group suggesting the matches, so you can have some show interaction. And I'll get one more shameless plug out of the way, and then I'll let you guys do any if you want to. Coming up very soon through the month of January, regular editions of the show may or may not happen, because I am going to be undertaking the copious amount of recording to do the Hall of Fame specials, which will probably wind up being at least 2 episodes of the show, where I will sit down with the people who voted for the Hall of Fame, the We Can't Wrestle Hall of Fame, and in probably groups of 3 or 4, and we will discuss discuss the class. Should they be in? Who did I vote for? Why did my guy not get in? Why did this person deserve to be in? Et cetera, et cetera. I think it's going to be a great conversation. I'll give you a preview. I'll give you guys a preview. I am very, very pissed that not enough of you people voted for Ricky Dozan. And we will get into that when we get into the... There wouldn't be Japanese wrestling right now if it wasn't for Ricky Dozan.
Can I say who my I'm pissed off this person didn't get in person is?
You can, but don't go into too much detail. Hold it for the show.
I'm just gonna say nobody other than me, I think, voted for Fred Blassie.
I'd have to go back and look at the ballots, but I think you might be right. I think Chad and I are the only 2 that voted for Ricky Dozan.
I don't know enough about Ricky to have voted for him. So that's probably why I didn't vote for him. I mean, I know of him, but I don't know enough about him to have given him my vote. That's the only.
Was there anybody you were surprised or disappointed didn't get in, Archie?
No, I mean, it was a pretty.
I mean, no, I think the class itself is solid.
Oh yeah.
I mean, everybody in there deserves to be in a Hall of Fame, but Yeah, there were just some that, and again, like I said, we won't do spoilers here. I won't go on off on a tirade yet, but that is going to be coming. Probably those episodes will drop later January, early February. And Archie, anything you want to discuss before we proceed?
No, I think you pretty much handled everything there. I think we're good.
Aaron?
Are we doing stupid gimmicks?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, all right. So Archie and Aaron are dueling here with
Aaron,
some gimmicks.
you go first.
I can't remember if I did this one.
Okay.
And if I did, I'm sorry, but it's still funny. Did I ever tell you guys the crazy vegan wrestler that I have?
No.
I don't think so.
I've never told you about the cilantro man, Randy Cabbage.
No.
No, that's a new one. That's a new one. All right. Well, mine was.
He goes out in his garden. He's like, dig it.
Oh, yeah. Rutabagas. Uh-huh.
Snap into some snap peas. Yeah.
Archie has one for you, Aaron. I already heard it. Spoiler alert, I already heard it.
He's a hardcore rocker, but also a Star Trek fan. He is Man Mountain Spock. Pointy ears. Live long and prosper guitar.
Live long and rock on.
That's what they said.
I love it. Mine that I sent the guys earlier in our host chat can only work in print. It doesn't really work if you say it.
Say it again. Go ahead.
It's The Miz. I think it's funny because of its simplicity. It's The Miz, but he's dyslexic.
What was it?
Zimet.
Sounds like a belt maker on these groups.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like
You need, bro?
it sounds like butt mud or whatever those belt makers are names are.
Perfect. Oh my god.
Oh shit, I love this show. All right. So now we roll on to our show review for this week. We are going back to 2 weeks prior.
Hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
I got a wrestler.
Okay.
His name is Oliver Conrad Dempsey. Okay. And
Oh my god.
his specialty is the Texas bull rope match because he has to touch every corner. Because Oliver Conrad Dempsey is OCD.
Otherwise known as OCD.
All right, I've got one more.
He can only win by a 6 count. 1, 2, 3.
And
1, 2, 3.
but I was gonna say
His entrance takes 27 minutes. He's like, wait a minute.
he's got to tap everything on the way down twice.
I only did 23 steps. It's got to be 24. Let me go back.
Oh, God. All right, I've got one for you, Aaron. I don't believe we've done a female wrestler yet. Right?
I don't think so.
I don't think we've done a diva. She's the daughter of a plumber. She is Busty Rhodes.
Oh, suck it.
If you will.
Oh.
The polka dots might have looked flattering on her, actually. We needed an entire episode to do these. We just needed an entire episode of us doing this.
She's got bigger titties than her daddy.
Speaking of which, Dustin Rhodes in the virtual asylum.
Yes.
Next month.
Yes.
Next month.
Dustin Rhodes is coming to the virtual asylum.
How was that for a segue, Nate?
That was very good. I like that. It was good. And keep it in the family. They're not family now, but I'm sure they get along just fine. Terry Runnels coming up next Saturday in the asylum. So stay tuned for that pretty awesome stuff coming up.
Yes,
I'm actually
sir.
excited that Don Morocco is going to be in the virtual asylum.
I am too.
I like Don Morocco. Even lazy ECW champion Don Morocco that we're watching right now.
Don't listen to our reliving the extreme.
Yeah, Don, don't listen to the first few episodes of that one. He knows. He calls himself cumbersome, for God's sake. He knows.
I would go on that meet and greet and be there. Like, Rock, do you ever listen to Reliving the Extreme? They love you. You got to go on there. Watch.
I heard it, Bretta. I heard him putting me over, Bretta.
He probably doesn't even remember being.
Yeah,
right.
It was just another indie at the time. He didn't have any idea.
You mean
they handed it. TV? They handed him his belt and were like, "You're teaming with Snook at a night." All right.
Was that when I was at that hot now and got a good sandwich? I don't remember that shit.
You mean they put that shit on TV?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, we are going back to March the 17th, 1985. The biggest surprise, just to start off here, was I was like, wow, they did MSG 2 weeks before WrestleMania. You know, like it was like, whew, this is definitely a reflection of the time and how times are different now.
You're right.
And but yeah, they're in Madison Square Garden. Looks like a sellout. Madison Square Garden, the WWF, March 17th, 85. We have Gorilla Monsoon and Gene Okerlund together on the call.
Which blew my mind. I have never heard Mean Gene on commentary.
And there's a reason for it.
Well, yeah.
I love Mean Gene Okerlund. I love it.
I do too.
Okay. But Mean Gene Okerlund is not a commentator.
I think 2 of the matches, Gorilla talks to himself. Like
yeah,
literally,
pretty much.
He sets himself up and finishes the line where Gene should have been there because Mean Gene is just being quiet for some reason.
He's thinking about his drinks later on.
Right.
When I get to the bar, pal. So this show starts off with an opening match, and all I wrote about the match was short and sweet. We have former WWF Tag Team Champion Rocky Johnson against Charlie Fulton, who, for those of you who have not watched a lot of old pre-expansion WWF stuff, in from 83, 84, 85, Charlie Fulton was one of those guys that was always on the MSG cards. He never really did anything, but he was always there, and I mean,
he was nothing talent.
Nothing offensive as a wrestler. I don't know a lot about him other than that. I don't know his story. I don't know what he did in the territories. I don't know a lot about him other than that. But Rocky gets him with a roll up. There isn't a lot to say about the match.
Apparently, according to Gorilla Monsoon, he put on a bit of weight too. That's all Gorilla keeps talking about throughout the match.
Fulton?
That Fulton put on some weight during the last couple months.
Fulton's getting to be kind of a fatty.
You know.
So. Winter weather in the Northeast. It happens. I noticed there was the little midget referee I'd never seen before.
Yeah, I took me by surprise.
I've never seen that fucking little midget referee before. And Rocky Johnson hits one of the most amazing. Because everybody's out of place except Rocky Johnson. He hits one of the most amazing sunset flips I've ever seen in my life.
Definitely.
That dude jumps halfway across the ring to get that fucking finish.
I think he even moves to the left a little in midair. Like he's I've got to hit this.
He just expands like a fucking wombat to get that goddamn pin.
And Fulton's like, what just happened?
And he pins him, and the little midget referee, he's out of place. And he finally pins him. And guess what Gene Okerlund says?
What?
Gene Okerlund, when they're going through when Rocky Johnson hits that fucking amazing wombat sunset flip, he goes, "Wouldn't that jar your mother's preserves?"
Oh God! Oh God!
I never heard that expression before in my entire life.
I've
heard it better than Kelsey's nuts.
Colder than a mother-in-law's kiss.
He's got more Carter. He's got more pills. He's got more excuses than Carter has pills. I've heard so much stupid shit. But Gene Okerlund goes, "Wouldn't that jar your mother's preserves?" What the fuck does that mean?
Thank you, Gene. You know what? One of the greatest exchange. Archie, I don't know if you've ever seen this interview. I know Aaron has. and don't spoil it, Aaron. Have you ever seen they are doing localized promos for Cleveland, Ohio?
Mhm.
All right. And it's Gene Okerlund interviewing Jake Roberts.
Mhm. Sounds familiar.
Okay. One of Jake's best lines ever. Gene says something about, we're going to be in Cleveland, Ohio, May 21st or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And Jake goes, I hate Cleveland, Ohio.
Yes.
and Gene goes, my mother-in-law is from Cleveland, Ohio. And Jake goes, I didn't like her mustache either. I don't know what made it. Just talking about Gene made me think.
Yeah, Gene had some great one-liners. I'll tell you.
One of my favorite things, and it's not even with Gene, but I think it's Vince is interviewing Freddie Blassie, and he's talking shit about fucking New York or whatever, and he's like, these New York broads, they don't know nothing. You ask them to jump, and they go, duh.
Not a lot's changed. Not a lot's changed.
These New York broads.
They just go, duh.
I showed Aaron a video, sent Aaron a video a few nights ago about low-key funny Alfred Hayes, too.
God, yeah.
Jesse Ventura's on TNT, and he's got like the flowing gold chainmail thing on his head. And Jesse Ventura goes, he's got the jewel in his dimple, and he's like, what do you think of my jewel, Alfred? And Alfred's just kind of looking at it. And he goes, your hat. And Vince goes, his hat. And Lord Alfred just goes, stupid.
Jesse says nothing back to it.
Yeah, he does, and he's looking like Jesse's like, you know what, he got me. The old fuck got me. All right, so the next match on this show has Rene Goulet, who they call him Michael Jackson of professional wrestling because he's got that glove on. It's like, all right, there's where the similarities stop.
Yeah,
but anyway,
like, hey buddy, Mike or Mel Phillips is out on the ringside. He's the Michael Jackson of professional wrestling. You people don't know it yet, but he is.
You're gonna find out in court. We have Rene Goulet against Barry O, who is actually Barry Orton, the uncle of Randy Orton. I didn't care for this match. I was never a big fan of Barry O anyway. But.
Quick fact here. This was my first ever Rene Goulet match I've ever watched.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I've known who Rene Goulet was. He used to be a backstage,
Yeah, he was the guy.
personnel.
As kids, we just knew him as the guy with the crazy hair who came down on WWF Superstars to break up a fight.
With that bleach blonde hair, and he'd always get his ass kicked by somebody. And it was like, okay, I know who he is. But now I'm like, wow, I didn't even know he wrestled. I just thought he was like a guy that did back, like Doug Dillinger. Nobody thought Doug Dillinger at WCW fought, which he didn't. So I thought that was who Rene Goulet was. When I heard he was in this match, I was like, wow, he wrestled?
No, I think, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm usually the one that knows, but I don't, because I'm the WWF guy here. But I think Goulet may have even in the 70s at some point been WWF Tag Team Champion with somebody. I'd have to go back and look it up.
I think it was
Parisi?
No.
Probably Tony Garea or something.
Yeah, it was Tony Garea.
Okay.
I think
they were tag champs. I can Google it, and I don't want to sound like an ignorant person if I'm wrong, but I think it was Garea and Goulet before Martel.
Well, and you wouldn't sound ignorant because I'm usually the guy that knows as far as WWF stuff goes, but I'm almost positive. But anyway, so yeah, he had a career. I mean, he was one of those guys that came through the WWF with their connection to Toronto and the Tunnies and all that. He was kind of he was a Toronto guy and came into the WWF quite a bit and then just kind of stuck around. I think, he was one of those guys that would be, he was one of those guys also that would be a challenger for Bruno or Backlund when they were
Right.
just defending their title against somebody they weren't actually feuding with or whatever at that time.
Right.
But,
At one of the gardens at a house show or something.
Yeah,
Probably was it,
yeah.
you know. So this match was okay. I mean, it was a lot of right hands, a lot of back and forth, you know, fight, a scuffle. But I mean, it was nothing to write home about. I see why it was on a house show and not on television.
Definitely not much to write home about.
What I did like though was from where this match started to the ending of the show, they promoted the crap out of WrestleMania. And I know it's the first, because you know they keep mentioning one night only. You cannot. This will not repeat on any pay-per-view or paid cable or anything like that ever again. And they're like, it's one night only. It's the first WrestleMania. And they're not even saying this is the first of many. You know, usually with a company, they're like, oh well, this is Clash of the Champions 1. No, they didn't know if they were going to have more than one.
No, well, Vince was betting everything on WrestleMania.
Right. So if it sucked, which it didn't, we know it didn't. He wasn't going to have another one. You know what I mean?
We're all completely wrong about his title reigns.
I just looked too. He actually won the he won the tag time. He was a tag champion. I was right about that. His partner, Carl Gotch.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you go. December of 71. Well, at least I was right about half of it. He was a tag team champion. Overall, this match, it was a Madison Square Garden undercard match.
Right. I think it went 10 minutes.
Barrio, for anybody that doesn't know, was blacklisted for accusing Terry Garvin and the WWF of sexual harassment during the Ring Boy scandal, and it turns out that the reason he got blackballed wasn't because he was sexually harassed. It's because he tried to pile on to the people that were actually harassed. Yeah,
he's on if you watch the Donahue episodes during the steroid trial and the Ring Boy scandal and all that, he's very much poking his big fat nose in on all that.
And the Orton gene skipped this motherfucker.
Yes, it did. Like I said, I was never a fan of Barrio.
And in the match, watching him, with his stupid little blonde perm and his tights and shit, I could be completely wrong, but I think the guy was trying to rip off Ricky Morton.
I can see that. Now that you said, I didn't see it then, but I can see that now that you said it. Yeah.
Because he's tying the bandanas around his legs, and he's got his little blonde,
even
shitty
Gorilla
hair.
Says, I've never seen Barrio with the bandanas tied around his legs. This is the first, so maybe he was. You know, but I got a feeling Bob Sr. and Bob Orton Jr. were like, please don't use the Orton name. Please don't use the Orton name. Just go by Barrio. Go by Barrio.
I'm begging you, man.
Please, I don't want people to know you're my brother.
Like I said, not a big Barrio goes over here. Not much to write about though in the match itself. Up next, we have a Madison Square Garden debut. Special Delivery Jones takes on Jim the Anvil Neidhart, who Bret Hart has not come along yet at this point, I don't believe. Or if he is, he's not on TV.
He's still the cowboy.
Yeah, he's still the cowboy, still trying to figure it out. Anvil, now managed by Jimmy Hart. Just a month or so before this, he was actually they had him managed by Mr. Fuji initially.
Wow.
Because I remember there are episodes of Tuesday Night Titans where Fuji is actually Neidhart's manager before Jimmy Hart comes into the WWF.
Can you imagine a stand-up Mr. Fuji Jim Neidhart promo?
Oh shit.
Tell him, Fuji.
Oh,
tell him what?
Tell him what, boy, son. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby.
My favorite move, my favorite Mr. Fuji thing is not all like I love all like the TNT, Mr. Fuji, Don Morocco stuff. That's my favorite Mr. Fuji stuff. But I love when he's like, "Hey, tell him about some tropical stuff." He's supposed to say topical stuff. Tell him about some topical. Tell him about some tropical stuff. Because Vince McMahon and Lord Alfred Hayes fucking lose it when he's like, "Hey, tell him about some tropical stuff."
It's so funny. Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
Anvil and SD, not a bad match. You know,
I was never a fan of Special Delivery Jones. The name alone just didn't have anything going for it.
Kind of sounds like a porn star. But
shouldn't he have been like dressed like a postman instead of wearing a Hawaiian shirt and a bandana? I mean,
the one thing you can't take away from him is he was involved in the first WrestleMania moment.
Yes.
And in Madison Square Garden, and especially Philadelphia, he was over like Rover.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that he's not appealing to people, but for me as a kid, like even with the LJN figures, when I would go like to my friend and we'd be playing, and he'd be like, "Grab the Special Delivery Jones," I'd be like, "No."
He was always, to me, he was always the one where I was, even as a kid, I was surprised they made a Special Delivery Jones. No offense, but you know, I'm just like, really? Wow.
He had two.
Even his wife was. Even his wife, he was probably like, "Grab the special delivery Jones," and she was like, "No."
Nate, see, you said he had an LJN. He had two. He had a variant. He had a red shirt and then a Hawaiian shirt.
I did not know that he had a variant.
Yes.
I've only ever seen the Hawaiian shirt one.
There's a red version too. I don't know why.
I have that. Not the red one, but I have the other one.
The Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah, but you collect the craziest of figures. You have everything that's weird. You told me this. Nate, he messaged me one night. Aaron messaged me one night at like 1:30. It's like, if you get any more of those weird ass figures, let me know. I collect the weird stuff. I'm like, okay.
Welcome to Aaron's house of wrestling debauchery.
Yeah. Leave a nickel at the door where you may not enter. Why was that funny?
I don't know why, but
it just was.
So back to Special Delivery Jones and Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
Yeah, and the only other note I have on it is that it really kind of annoys me, and it doesn't happen like a lot with just like everyday fans. It annoys me with like fans like us, where people are like, "I hated Jimmy Hart after he got to the WWF. He was so much better in Memphis." Yeah, Jimmy Hart was cool in Memphis and everything, but until he managed Hogan, like until he turned face in like '93, right. I think Jimmy Hart gets a lot of fucking like
bad
heat,
press.
Like bad press or whatever. Yeah. Like Jimmy Hart was cool in the WWF.
I liked him with the Natural Disasters. I liked him with the Nasty Boys. I liked him with Money Inc.
Nate, you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
People are like, oh well, when he was with Lawler and with his shit in Memphis, the shit in Memphis is cool and everything, but Jimmy was badass in the WWF.
Well, I was listening to another, and I agree with you. I agree with you, but like I was listening to another podcast today where they were discussing. They were discussing early 80s WWF, and they brought up Ted DiBiase. And then, of course, they have to summarily go into the conversation of, well, you know, even though he was pretty good when he became the $1 Million Man in the WWF, he was never as good as he was when he was in Mid-South and blah, blah, blah. Oh, for God's sake. You know what I mean? Like,
still the same wrestler, but made better.
Mm-hmm. That would be like me saying, and we talked about him earlier, but that would be, and I never did. That would be like me saying, you know, and this is what they sound like. If I were to be 6 months ago. Well, I mean, Brody Lee's okay in AEW, but it's not like when he was in the Wyatt family in the
Right.
WWE. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
just because it's a promotion you're not a huge fan of doesn't mean
Right.
the minute the wrestler got there, they became ass. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let's use this let's use this as an example. Sorry, I stuttered a little bit. Archie, you guys a while back did a thing in your asylum, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you had Luke, right?
Yes.
Did you have sheep herder Luke, or did you have bushwhacker Luke?
See, that's a trick question because he actually signed things as the sheep herders as well.
I understand, but when you
Advertising.
promoted it and advertised it,
we advertised
did he say
Bushwhacker.
advertise me
No.
as sheep herder Luke
No.
or bushwhacker Luke?
Bushwhacker Luke.
And did he announce himself as being a Southwestern or Puerto Rican Wrestling Hall of Famer or a WWE Hall of Famer?
A WWE Hall of Famer.
So I want people that don't think that way.
Right. His career. Look, you cannot say that a wrestler changed. Yes, of course they changed, but for the better because the career got bigger.
Well,
Ted
and
DiBiase became the $1 Million Man.
Not just that, but in the instance of like the Bushwhackers, yeah, the sheep herders were badass. They were hardcore, man. You watch some of that stuff they did with the Fantastics and everything. It's amazing. But good on them for signing a big money contract with the WWF and accepting a gimmick where they didn't have to go out there and bleed and break their bones.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at too. And I was gonna kind of say this with going into this because this show for the WWF is kind of the end of like the WWF being a territory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then you roll into like the WWF style. And the WWF style, like people, it's all cartoony and this and that. It's not all cartoony. Like the WWF after this, like WrestleMania 1 and WrestleMania 2 turned into, at the start of the show, you're going to get a good wrestling match. Then you're going to get another good wrestling match. And then you're going to get something like the Bushwhackers versus the Rougeau brothers. And it's comedic, but it's athletic. Right. And then you're going to get your IC match, which is like 100% athletic. And then you're going to roll into your fucking main event, which is Hulk Hogan, and it's all showmanship.
Right. Like him getting a shovel.
Yeah, like I don't want to go too. I don't want to get too off the rails. I've been watching some shit from the '80s a little bit more lately, and just getting kind of fired up about it. Like I hate people that just. I shouldn't say hate. It annoys me when people are just automatically just like, oh, right when he got to the WWF, he was terrible.
Yeah,
right.
He sucked. They got him and they just fucked him over. They just ruined him. It's like, no, they bought his goddamn house and paid for his kids' college tuition. You fucking moron.
People this day and age immediately assume that because a wrestler was never world heavyweight champion, that they were no good. Or if a wrestler loses a couple weeks in a row, they're being buried. No, they're not. It's what their character is doing right now, and they will develop into something better. Now, does that mean Mr. Perfect had a bad career in WWE, WWF? No. Does that mean that the $1 Million Man did? No. Does that mean Rick Rude did? No. They actually excelled for the character and what position they were brought in for. The $1 Million Man was a 2 or 3 time World Tag Team Champion in WWF.
And Ted DiBiase made more money and lived a better goddamn lifestyle than he ever would have if he would have left. Like, if he would have never left Mid-South and just stayed in the NWA.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure Ted DiBiase would have been fine, but he wouldn't have been like the fucking superstar that he is.
If
You know?
Mid-South would have ended when it did, was he going to go to NWA and be on the actual national stage and get to WCW? I don't think so. They probably would have put him to another territory until it went out of business.
Yeah, I just hate that stigma of the minute somebody winds up in the WWF, oh, they're fucking trash now. They fucking ruined them. It's like, no, bitch. They made that guy a lot of money and a little bit better.
Yep.
The only person I will ever say that about is Shinsuke Nakamura. The WWE did ruin him, but he is making a shit ton of money, so that's okay.
And I'm sure that's why he stays and does whatever the hell they ask him to do.
Right.
Just like AJ. You know, I see AJ clowning around. Like, sometimes I watch WWE now.
Can you imagine if AJ would have done that shit? He'd still be living in fucking Impact and sleeping in a camper.
Every so often, Claire Whitland
sometimes
pop back up.
Sometimes I watch some of the stuff that AJ does on WWE.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to myself, you know what? AJ Styles is at the point in his life where he's like, fuck it. I am making a fuck ton of money. And you know what? When he wrestles, he still gets to go out there and be AJ.
Right.
Vince likes him, so they don't stifle him. When he has a match, he still gets to have an AJ Styles match.
Change his style. Right.
No, some of the stuff they do leading to the match is ridiculous. But he's not really shitting on his legacy, on his own legacy, because again, he gets to go out there when he wrestles and be AJ Styles.
2-time former world heavyweight champion WWE,
United
States champion, Intercontinental champion, former IWGP world heavyweight champion, and former Impact champion multiple times over. AJ Styles is going to have a Hall of Fame career no matter how you slice it.
Oh yeah.
So just because he's acting like a clown here and there, that doesn't mean his career sucks. Now, no,
exactly.
He's still getting put over,
and not to mention, like I said, still getting paid. And, you know, that's when I watch him. I'm thinking that's what like people say that. I think that's where, at times, even though he's been overtime. I know we're getting off the rails. We'll get back. At times, even though a lot of times overtime, he's been the fuck up of the family. As far as business goes, Jeff's the smart one of the Hardys.
Oh yeah.
Because Jeff Hardy, if you notice, 99% of the time, he's like, just stay in the WWE.
Right.
And
Matt,
people are like,
Matt, you go do what you want. You go wherever you'd like.
Yeah. You would have your creative freedom and blah, blah, blah. I'll just stay in the WWE.
Hey, as far as I'm concerned,
look at all that fucking T-shirts I sell, man.
Yeah, man. He's like, hey, man, I know I hit like 47 pedestrians and slammed into a fucking embankment, but Vince keeps paying, so I'm staying. Go off with your drone and let fucking that little guy cripple you. I don't give a fuck.
Right. Well, here, look at it this way: since Matt Hardy left, Jeff Hardy
keep vaping and craping.
Jeff Hardy's won the Intercontinental title twice since Matt Hardy left, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's been involved in matches at WrestleMania again, and he's been involved in high angle feuds with AJ Styles.
Yep.
Matt Hardy's been in AEW, which I like AEW. I'm not bad mouthing them, but what's Matt Hardy done in AEW except for let Sammy Guevara almost kill him?
He's been there a year. He's had 5 gimmicks and almost died. That's essentially what he's done.
Like, if I was Jeff, I'd be like, you let that skinny guy smack you into the kitchen floor, man. What the fuck are you doing?
Come back. It's so much easier here. And the money's so much better.
I don't think he would go back.
I know your music sucked and they stifled you, but shit. At least you knew where your fucking car keys were before you fucking got in that match.
You could have feuded with the Fiend. The Fiend wouldn't have hurt you. But anyway, all right. Jim Neidhart and especially Rick Jones.
An effective. This is where this show goes half the time.
Did I ruin that? I'm sorry.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No, an effective squash match to get Jim over in the garden. You know, in the garden. So my next, and I just want to say this.
I only have one note on it.
Okay.
One more note that we didn't say. Say they wouldn't have put the Hart Foundation together like if they wouldn't have taken Brett's consideration of saying, "Hey, I don't want to be a cowboy," and you got Jim and Jimmy together, and I'm a heart, and their hearts. Let's be the Heart Foundation. I honestly, and even though I love the guy, I don't think Jim Neidhart would have been long for the world in the WWF without Brett and Jimmy.
No, I agree.
This is actually where I'm kind of gonna. This is actually where I'm gonna kind of sound like the people you were just bitching about. He could have, if he would have been like he was in Mid-South. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying he was bad, but what I'm saying is as a singles, not putting him into the tag team with Brett, if he would have went more with kind of the badass Rhino kind of gimmick that he had in Mid-South, I think it could have worked in the WWF, but I'm glad it turned out the way it did.
I'm not saying it wouldn't have worked, but I'm just saying he wouldn't have had a fucking
they tried
like
to put
85 to like 94 run in that company.
Oh no. I mean, look at it, Brett. Okay, they took him away from Brett. They put him with Owen a little bit. That was horrible. And then they made him who? They put a mask on him and said, "You're going to be who?" And he said, "Who?" And they said, "Yeah, who?" And then it became an Abbott and Costello joke. You know,
I am going to play devil's advocate and say his sheer absolute love of cocaine may have also helped to hurt him a little bit in those later years, but
or helped him,
whatever. Yeah.
Jim, you're going to be who? Okay.
I don't care. I'll be what, baby?
Right.
I'll be Al. I don't give a fuck. Pay my RS bill.
First name what? Last name ever. I'm like, whatever. Just pay me. The next match on this card is Jose Luis Rivera versus, I put, Count Kong Bundy.
Yeah, I put it's King Kong Bundy. King Kong Bundy in a cape. That's exactly what I put. King Kong Bundy in a cake. In a cake.
I mean, he ate a cake.
With Jimmy Hart versus that fucking Mexican guy.
Jose Luis Rivera, actually Puerto Rican guy. But
my favorite line that Gorilla Monsoon says during this match is, "Jimmy Hart is really bringing a relative who's who into the WWF." And I'm like, okay, yeah. But then I'm like, wait a minute. Bundy was then managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan. And then the $1 Million Man. So he wasn't really loyal to Jimmy.
Nah, not very much.
With Jimmy, you know.
I thought it was funny. Essentially, Gorilla Monsoon at one point in this match subliminally calls King Kong Bundy a fat ass.
Yep.
Because Gene says, King Kong Bundy reminds me of a young Gorilla Monsoon, and Gorilla's like, no. This guy's, I think he says, this guy's a lot more round than I ever was, or something to that effect. But yeah, I just thought
no, he says Gorilla Monsoon. Well, okay, maybe he does discount the fact that he's not as rotund as Bundy. But then Gorilla goes, I think Bundy's big all over. Oh. That's gross.
But what I was thinking at the beginning of this, when I wrote Count Kong Bundy, was were they thinking about, like, at one point, was that like the thought process was like King Kong Bundy was going to wear a cape and be like a count of some kind, or like Baron von Raschke or Baron von Raschke or something, you know? I don't know.
Maybe he was going to be an opera singer. You know.
The other thing I wonder is, what does Vince McMahon have against King Kong Bundy?
I don't know. He's not in the Hall of Fame.
He's not in the Hall of Fame. He never gets talked about. Like, there's that fucking video they made where, like, they was like the giants of the WWE or whatever, and it's on their network, and they talk about like Vader and Yokozuna and Andre the Giant and all these guys that should be mentioned, but there's no Bundy. Like, what the fuck did Bundy do?
Yeah, I've always wondered that too.
He made the referees count longer.
Like, they
I've
said
never heard.
they said Savage slept with fucking Stephanie. Did like Bundy try to like fuck Linda?
He wanted Linda. Vince.
I'm not saying he did. I'm just saying.
Vince, I'd like a piece of that cake and a date with your wife.
And a cape. I want a cape.
I want a cape.
Hey, Val, I'll give you the cape.
And you can have all the cake.
And the cake.
You leave Linda.
But you can't eat her too.
Yeah.
This was essentially a squash for Bundy.
Without a doubt. 5 count.
Yeah, the 5 count, and that's it. Put it in the books.
Yeah,
that one's over.
He was a conquistador, by the way.
Jose Luis Rivera.
Yeah, he was a conquistador.
He was also one of those guys that, like, in the early '80s during the Backlund era, that he kind of got in there because they thought they were going to be able to push him as a big baby face for the Puerto Rican fans, and then he really wasn't very good, but he stuck around anyway. Like, he's always on those all-star wrestling shows and stuff. But
so he was Dominic Mysterio for 1985.
Yeah,
okay.
And Dominic DeNucci too, for that matter. Do we want to go into the Piper's Pit segment, or do we want to take a break?
Up to you.
I'll go into it.
Yeah, I'll go into it.
We have up next. Actually, first we have a promo from Mr. T and Hulk Hogan talking about WrestleMania with Mean Gene. And now, what I consider the main event of the show, the Piper's Pit. Roddy Piper in Madison Square Garden.
Incredible on the mic.
Oh, yeah. At his white hot heat vest.
Yep.
And I mean, that's literally my note. Piper has white hot heat.
He didn't even have to talk. He could have just sat there in the ring and they would have booed him.
And I know this has been a talking point in discussion over the years through the WWE's channels and their DVDs and anybody else that has ever talked about WrestleMania. WrestleMania succeeded, and I'm not taking anything away from Hulk Hogan.
No.
Hulk Hogan was red hot himself, a ball of charisma, the fucking man, okay? Not taking anything away from him. No, but you throw in the celebrity of T, because at that time, T was a huge TV star.
Yep.
And to what everybody always says, if it would not have been Piper.
Right. If that would have been Orndorff and Orton.
Yeah, without Piper, I mean, Hogan. Piper is essentially to the beginning of Hulkamania what Bret Hart was to the beginning of Austin 316.
Without a doubt.
Do you want to know what my first note of this thing is?
What's that?
It says, without Roddy Piper, there would be no WrestleMania with a number.
No, absolutely not.
Like, there would be no WrestleMania 2, no WrestleMania 3, no WrestleMania 4 without Roddy Piper.
They carried the Piper T feud over into WrestleMania 2 a year later.
One of my favorite, and this is stupid too, but one of my favorite things that Piper would do at this time is just how he would randomly introduce. Whoa.
Go ahead.
Would be how he would randomly introduce Bob Orton.
Yep.
Like, he'd come out and he'd be like, "Oh, I'm Roddy Piper," blowing snot and shit, and then he'd like talk for like 5 minutes and be like, "All you fat sows out there," and he'd just be talking, and he'd be talking like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat up Mr. T, and I'm gonna fuck up Hulk Hogan." And, That's my bodyguard.
That's my
my
bodyguard.
Ace over there.
That's the bodyguard.
He just randomly introduced. Oh yeah, that's my bodyguard Ace over there.
And Bob Orton would pop for it. He'd be like, "Hi, I'm right here."
Hey, I'm right here. Hey guys.
Don't you wish you had a bodyguard?
Yeah, don't you wish you had a bodyguard like that guy? He's fucking great. Yeah. Fucking love that shit. I don't know why it cracks me up, but every time when he's just like, I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. Oh yeah, that's my bodyguard Ace. I got my bodyguard over here.
They're two guys that when you look at it's funny because when you look at them and their characters,
they shouldn't be together.
Yeah,
No.
You wouldn't think they would mesh so well, but they're so fucking good together. They're so good together.
Because Piper's a scumbag, and like Orton is. He's just the guy that would be friends with the scumbag.
Right.
I don't know how to explain it.
Right. Well, you remember
like Piper would say some shit and Orton just be in the back like,
right.
I'm just the bodyguard.
Yeah.
I'm Ace. How you doing? My brother's not very own. No, I swear. I'm not related to that fucking guy. So, and then the thing that he's like, and now I'm going to bring out the celebrity, the movie star, Paul Orndorff. And I'm like, wow, what a setup.
Yeah, it was
Orndorff
great.
If you think he's about to bring out Mr. T, here comes Orndorff. Orndorff's in tremendous shape. He plays the part. There should have never have been a face Paul Orndorff. Paul Orndorff was meant to be a heel his entire career.
The only time that I think it worked as a face, because I think from the minute they turned him babyface, they intended for him to turn on Hogan.
Right.
So that was okay to set up that feud. They didn't have him babyface very long, but the one thing I wrote down about Orndorff was I have Paul Orndorff, that monkey joke. Jesus.
Yeah. I put that Paul Orndorff implied that Mr. T is a chimp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would not fly.
Not a good look.
That shouldn't have flied in '85.
Right. I wish I could say that wouldn't have flied today, but that shouldn't have flied in '85. Somebody should have been like, "Ooh, we got to edit that for TV." But the WWE network was like, "No, put it on in all its glory.
Just leave it."
But we got to cut out that fucking.
Only those three jagoffs for the We Can't Wrestle podcast are watching it anyway.
Right.
Yeah, it's like we can't have Obsession play on the Saturday Night main event, but we can let fucking Orndorff make a chimp joke. Jesus Christ.
And then Mr. T and Hogan come out. Snuka's there, sort of like a chihuahua. He's just there. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't do anything. But he's
like a little murderous dog.
Right. He's ready to
At
just kill somebody.
at this point, I think even in real life, he was just there.
Right.
And they have a back and forth between Piper and T.
Which is excellent. Even Mr. T actually cut a hell of a promo.
Oh, yeah. He was so good here.
He was great.
And the thing that I put was that he was exceptionally good, and I can see why they wanted him for this role.
Yeah, Hogan didn't really say much during this whole interaction.
Hogan said nothing.
Just laying back. He was just laying back.
It's funny that you said that, Archie, because I put considering in my notes considering how the company revolved around Hogan or was going to revolve around Hogan. This whole segment was about Mr. T.
Right.
Hulk Hogan doesn't utter a word.
Nope.
What I put, and it might be dumb, is like looking at it, I understand why Piper during this era disliked T. I understand it. Like and I'm not saying you guys are wrong about Mr. T because I thought Mr. T was cool, but Piper legitimately grabbed a fucking knife.
Ooh.
Oh.
Testing.
That wasn't supposed to happen.
But it did.
Through the magic of editing, it won't, though.
No, it won't.
Okay.
It won't.
You can edit out your mistakes, but all my fuck ups just wind up in the show. But whatever. Piper legit threw a goddamn cup of ice right at Mr. T's face.
Yes, he did.
Like Mr. T was just trying to be like, I pity the fool. I'm trying to work. And Piper was like, fuck you. And just threw that cup of ice right in his face. Am I the only guy that missed that? Or saw that?
No, I have it on my notes. But this segment was
Awesome.
Again, like I said, I don't ever, if I ever have seen this show, I don't remember it. And watching this, I was like, wow, that is good hype for WrestleMania. That was a great segment. And again, totally taken aback by the lack of anything revolving around Hogan. You know, this segment was all about Piper and T.
Piper pulling out those artworks, those drawings or paintings, and it was about T. There wasn't a mention of Hogan even in those drawings.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was T with an arm brace, then it was T with a leg brace, then it was T in a full body cast. And the best line Mr. T could have ever delivered, Mr. Piper, I see you're a great artist. I think you're a great artist, but at WrestleMania, I'm gonna whip your ass. And I'm like,
yeah, it's very,
was that like a compliment sandwich? Like, you're a great artist, but I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm like, what?
I'm gonna kick your artistic ass at WrestleMania.
And see, you're a great artist. You're a great artist. And it brought me back to Hall of Fame speech. I love my mama. No one can tell me I don't love my mama. I'm like, what does this have to do? What does this have to do with what's going on?
Fantastic.
It was great. And then, of course, the segment ends with Piper, Orton, and Orndorff running out, and T destroying those paintings like they were nothing.
Yes.
They literally broke into toothpicks. You know, and Hogan's just running around the ring ripping his shirt off. Snooker's jumping on the top rope for no reason whatsoever. You know?
As usual.
But the star was Mr. T. The whole thing was about T and Piper.
And it was like we mentioned before, it was a great segment. I really liked that.
Without a doubt.
Now we move into something that wasn't so great. The son of Bruno Sammartino, David Sammartino, against Matt Bourne. No dissing Matt Bourne.
No, not at all.
The match is boring.
Here's what again, a little reveal here. I didn't know Matt Bourne was a second generation superstar.
Yep.
And I found that out as they were announcing this match.
Tony Bourne.
Yep, Tony Bourne. I went and looked it up, and I'm like, wow, his dad actually was a decent wrestler. So
and then
he had a background.
Matt Bourne is one of the I don't know very many actual wrestlers in the business, but Matt Bourne is one of the only guys that I ever heard Chad say he was like somewhat legitimately scared of.
Yeah.
We asked him, kind of a psychopath.
We asked him on a prior edition of the show. We asked Chad about Matt Bourne because I thought the Born Again thing in ECW was fun.
Awesome.
So I asked Chad if he had any interaction with Matt Bourne, and I think essentially his quote was, "Yeah, I just stayed on the other end of the locker room. I didn't want anything to do with that guy."
Right.
And he said, those promos when he was in the hotel at the end of the night, this guy's pretty fucked up. Stay away from him.
Well, I mean, it showed even here in 1985, he looked a little edgy. Like he might have been hearing some voices in his head that weren't talking to him very nicely.
But goddamn, did he do a great job with Doink. But
oh yeah.
Well, he did a great job as Doink. And what I was going to say was, if he would have been a better citizen, if he would have been a better citizen, I think Matt Bourne in the 85, 88 era, because he was a fantastic promo as well, could have been gangbusters in the WWF.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, he wrestles David Sammartino in this match, and David Sammartino, as I wrote here, without his dad, was not over at all.
Do you want my note? Do you want my note on David Sammartino?
Whenever he would come out with Bruno, the people would go apeshit, but that's because they were to the point where they even started calling him David Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah. It's like the Nick George Goulas.
Yes.
You want my note?
Go ahead, Aaron.
You want my note on David Sammartino?
Mm-hmm.
And I watched this entire show sober. These are my notes. Matt Bourne, one of the only guys Chad said was legit crazy. WWE or WWF could have done more with Bourne in the 80s if he would have been a better citizen. And then my last note is David Sammartino is built like a chicken nugget.
Good call. Good freaking call. Wow. Wow. You know what I'm imagining? Remember the McDonald's people, the fry guys, and the little chicken that was wearing a pilot hat? I picture David Sammartino just sitting there going, "Hi,
Dunk me. Dunk me."
welcome to McDonald's."
Nate, do you want to decide what note I had is going to be the name of the show?
David Sammartino shaped like a chicken nugget.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh, that might be the one that I had was, what was it called again? Big winter.
Oh, that was the last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Giant winter monkey.
I like yours better.
Big giant winter monkey.
David Sammartino is shaped like a chicken nugget. Oh God! Oh God!
Is he not?
No, you hit it on the head. You hit it perfectly. Oh my God! He's even colored like one too. Oh my
Guys,
God.
I can only make the title so long.
No, here's the thing. I went off on a tirade last week, if you guys remember, about wrestling kids because I saw Billy Gunn's children in AEW, and they suck. They can't cut a promo and they can't wrestle. And I mentioned David Sammartino, and I think somebody said, "Well, David wasn't that bad," and I said, "Have you seen him wrestle?" And they never answered back. David was horrible, and I'm sorry. Bruno was great. I love Bruno. He's truly a legend, but
yeah, there was a reason. There was a reason. Anytime they had a show that was supposed to draw any kind of money, they had Bruno out there with David,
like at WrestleMania.
WrestleMania 1,
right?
Where he wrestles Beefcake.
Yep.
Jesus Christ,
Booty beef.
It's definitely the low light of WrestleMania 1. Is that match?
Booty beef versus the McNugget. Jesus Christ.
Sounds like a Happy Meal.
All right, moving along. Bourne. Who won this match? I don't even have wrote down who won it.
I believe David won.
Fucking Nugget won it.
You know, to his credit, Owen Hart said for years, "I'm not a nugget." Maybe he was trying to tell us about it.
It was a rib on David the whole time.
Yeah.
So we follow this up with a 6-man tag team match that's pretty star-packed here.
Yeah, I like this match.
You have Jesse the Body Ventura, Ken Patera, and Big John Studd against Junkyard Dog, Jimmy Snuka, and Andre the Giant.
Now, Bobby Heenan is out with the heel team.
Mm-hmm.
Who was he managing at this time?
Patera and Studd.
Patera and Studd.
Oh, it is Patera and Studd. Okay, because I don't remember Jesse being in
because
he was gonna manage Jesse, also, but Jesse got Agent Orange, and Nate laughed like I'm joking.
No, it sounded like you said he got Agent Orange that day.
No, not the fucking night of this. Basically, Jesse had lung issues, and
Had to retire.
And had to retire. And that's why if you watch a lot of like those 80s like Coliseum videos, you'll see Jesse on them. Because they would put Jesse in these 6-man matches because he was still a draw.
Right.
Like people would be saying, "Oh, Jesse Ventura."
Right.
But he couldn't work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he could so if you watch this match, like he'll tag in and hold a couple elbows and then he'll tag out. And then at the end of it, he takes the pin, and he could take the pin because you still keep Patera good and Stud good, and Jesse takes the pin, but he's they pin a commentator or whatever. That's why Jesse's in there.
Well, Gorilla mentions, or maybe it was Gene, says interesting to see one of our fellow broadcasters in the ring.
That's why Jesse was in there because they wanted to pack Madison Square Garden and what a better way to do it than say Ventura's on it.
Right.
And one of my favorite Bobby Heenan lines is when he goes in the Hall of Fame, he's talking about all the people he could have managed. And he goes, like, when I first got to the WWF, he's like, they had the Grand Wizard here, and he was doing a great job. And Fred Blasty, he was here doing a great job. And Lou Albano was here. He refused to get fired. And then they told me I could manage Jesse Ventura. He goes, imagine if I would have done that today, I might have been the first lady of Minnesota.
Yeah, that Albano line's so good.
Yeah, he refused to get fired.
I love it when he mentions his wife, and they give her the pop. They give her the pop, and then he's like, "Yeah, you haven't had the meatloaf." Oh, God rest his soul. All right,
he's like, you try sleeping on a blow up mattress watching Judge Judy.
There will never be a funnier human being than Bobby Heenan.
Oh, without a doubt.
Ever. We've done a show on him before. We'll probably have to do another one at some point. But all right, so back to the 6-man. This was a decent 6-man match with a lot of star power.
This was really, honestly, right before Patera went to prison.
Speaking of McNuggets,
yeah. There's a lot going on this show. This show is interesting because it's I shouldn't say it's a transition show, but it shows you what was happening right before, like how the territory was right before it became
the boom.
Yes. The boom.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Andre was trying to stud.
Like Rene Goulet, Rocky Johnson, Ken Patera, Jose Luis Rivera. You know what I mean?
Right.
It goes from being like, this is the last show that's like, this is a territory to this is a boom.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. You could see it. You see the transition happening. You know.
That's why
Andre was at the tail end. I mean, not the tail end, because obviously WrestleMania 3 is in 2 more years, but Andre was moving slightly slow.
Oh no, he was at the tail end of his career here. Yeah. I mean, by the time you get to WrestleMania 3,
right, he's immovable.
And I don't know if you guys, if either one of you have read the Andre the Giant biography that recently came out. If you have not, you should get it. I really love Bret Hart's autobiography, and I love Mick Foley's first book.
Right.
But this book, that new Andre the Giant book that came out earlier this year, late last year, is the best wrestling book I've ever read. They go into insane amounts of detail, back to Andre's beginnings, trying to, his career is so much because of the size of man he was and the legend he was. Right. It's hard to separate a lot of the stories fact from fiction. And this book does a really good job of that. And it also does a really good job of painting the picture that Andre's biggest moment, probably WrestleMania 3, he was probably in from that WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 4, WrestleMania 5, that whole 3-year period, he is in such terrible condition.
Oh, yeah.
And he's in pain. And what he did was superhuman. Being able to do what he did was superhuman. So, yes, you're not wrong. You weren't misstating when you said he was at the tail of his career here, Archie,
he's
because
starting to wind down because
he's literally on autopilot for those huge years of the WWF. I mean,
you look at this match, it's a 6-man tag, so obviously that's so Andre doesn't have to carry a lot of the match. Then you look at his match at WrestleMania, it was a body slam challenge. So all they were really trying to do was chop each other and slam each other.
Mm-hmm.
Then you fast forward to WrestleMania 2, and he's in a battle royal, which he wins, but he doesn't have to do a lot in a battle royal because he's Andre the Giant. You know what I mean?
And he's working with fucking Brett.
Right. And a bunch of football players. So, so the match with Hogan was the match that he really had to do a lot in. And I'll be honest.
He has nothing in it.
Well, I mean, he has to get up for the slam. He's got to, push Hogan around a little. But Andre was the one wrestler, when you would see him wince in pain from like a move being done to him, you really felt like he was in pain.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of hurt you at the heart. Like, is he really selling or is he really in pain?
Yeah. But he's still in fairly decent shape during this match. Match is good. We get a Superfly splash on Jesse Ventura for the finish. Anything else on this one, guys?
Oh, entertaining match.
Up next, also coming into the WWF at this time out of the Mid-Atlantic area, we have Ricky Steamboat.
Yes.
Against Terry Gibbs. I just put good squash match. There really wasn't anything.
Yeah, I agree. They just keep mentioning how young Steamboat is here and how, they almost want to call him green. And I was, surprised because I thought Steamboat had a career before this.
Oh, he did.
Oh, yeah. So it was a fantastic career.
Yeah.
But this is a prime example of the WWF
not mentioning
just saying, this guy's brand new.
Right.
like when Gorilla Monsoon calls Carlos Colon a youngster at the Royal Rumble in 1993.
Right. I'm sitting there going,
it's like he has crevices on his forehead older than Doug Gilbert.
He looks like George Jefferson, and you're calling him a youngster.
Right. We get to the main event of this card in a little bit. And one of the lines that Gorilla says is, maybe one day Ricky Steamboat will work his way up to a match against Greg Valentine for the Intercontinental title. I'm like, motherfucker, what? He's got to work his way up? Really? He's Ricky Steamboat.
But this match is what it is. And
again, just an effective squash for Ricky to establish himself in the Garden.
And
work his way up to the title match.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment that's probably stupid, and it might not be accurate, but I want to say something about Terry Gibbs.
Okay.
The only thing Terry Gibbs was trying to do, honestly, the only thing he was trying to trying to rip off and be like a generic version of Tully Blanchard.
Well, I mean, it's not a stupid comment. I'm sure he loaned something from Tully's look. They
just
kind of look similar.
Like Terry Gibbs to me was just trying to look and act like Tully Blanchard.
He was trying.
He didn't succeed. I didn't say the guy was doing a good job, man.
Right.
I'm just saying, with how he was doing his mannerisms and shit, dude was trying to be Tully Blanchard. It's like, sit the fuck down, Terry Gibbs.
You're Terry Gibbs.
You're not even Barry Gibbs.
Right.
Piece of shit. You're barely staying alive in there.
Yeah, when a greenhorn like Ricky Steamboat could kick your ass.
Yeah. This youngster.
This newbie.
This rookie.
Fucking noob. Ricky Steamboat.
What a stupid name. He'll never get anywhere.
Yeah. Maybe you should go with the name Dick Blood, you loser.
Right.
And the main event of this show for the Intercontinental title, and I put good as expected, as you would expect from these two guys. Tito Santana, who doesn't get talked about enough, and Greg Valentine.
Never had a bad match.
Yes.
And it is the first ever, according to Gorilla Monsoon, I believe he said, first ever lumberjack match for the Intercontinental title.
Yes.
Which was a good fact. I was like, wow, I didn't know that.
And it is a good match. I don't have a lot of notes on it. I think I don't have a lot of notes on it because, to be perfectly honest, I was watching the match. I got kind of caught up in the match because these two are so good together. They are very good together.
I just kept thinking to myself, the Lumberjacks aren't actually doing what today's or even the 90s Lumberjacks would do. No one was really trying to keep these guys like beat, like in a Lumberjack match nowadays or whatever, it becomes the heels are beating up the face. Nobody ever really went to go beat up Tito. They were just pushing him back in the ring. So they were actually doing their job correctly in this match, which was weird to see.
It was a match back in the day when shit actually made sense.
Right.
One note that I have, and then I'll let you go, Aaron. But one note that I have is it is curious to me why 2 weeks before WrestleMania, the two guys who were feuding over the title and could have a match like this are having this match in Madison Square Garden, and why they didn't just go ahead and book these guys at WrestleMania. To have
That's my first fucking note. It's like these guys should have had this at WrestleMania.
Well, I mean, they could have at least had a match at WrestleMania. It would have made sense.
They should have had this match at WrestleMania.
Instead, we got Santana versus the Executioner and Valentine versus JYD in a non-title match.
Right.
JYD, okay, and I know like Tito's like, oh, Vince McMahon told me go out there and wake the garden up. You could have went out there and woke the garden up with this match.
Right.
And then let JYD beat the Executioner.
Right. Right. Here's the thing. Okay, Nate mentioned earlier, you want to sell out the garden, bring in Jesse Ventura. Okay, you want to put on a main event for the Intercontinental title. That's not a problem. This could have been a preview to WrestleMania because Valentine won anyway.
Right.
So if they were going to put, which they, it's not like they were putting the belt on Tito anyway. They could have re-had this match at Mania. Who else saw this match except for the people at Madison Square Garden?
Right. It was just pretty much them and people watching on the MSG network.
Right. So, I mean, it's not like people would be like, oh, this is boring. We saw this 2 weeks ago. No. Show me it again. Let me see it again.
Yeah. So overall, I'm sorry, guys. I put this match had a great realistic finish too. Definitely. Very realistic, good finish.
Well, I put that it was a good match. I didn't completely like the ending. And I had like a weird note. It's not a weird note, but it was something randomly that I thought of. And I watched the Steamboat match and then this match, and I thought about Jay Youngblood and Ricky Steamboat.
Mm-hmm.
What I thought was in the WWF, like say Steamboat would like to jump around a lot.
Yeah.
Say he would have stayed there. Fucking Ricky Steamboat and Tito Santana would have been a really good goddamn tag team.
Yeah.
That would have, and this is no knocking the partner, but that would have been a better strike force than Santana and Martel.
Yeah. Right. Fucking Ricky Steamboat and Tito Santana together. Good God.
Right.
Why didn't anybody fucking think of that?
They didn't have any faith in the newbie, a.k.a. Ricky
Apparently.
Steamboat.
Tito was like, fuck that greenhorn.
Right. Put me in with Ricky. I want Rick Martel, not Rick Steamboat.
Yeah. But anyway, I think Ricky and Tito would have been great.
I could have seen it.
So overall, this surprised me because when I told Aaron pick a number or whatever I did and we came up with this, I was like, oh boy, I don't know what this is going to turn into.
Right.
But this bad boy surprised me. I gave this motherfucker 4 out of 5. This was a good show.
You're much nicer than me.
I give it a 3.5 out of 5.
I had. Let me see.
I gave it 2.5 out of 5.
Oh,
I had 3 effective squashes. I had a match with a giant. I had a fantastic mid-show Piper's Pit segment.
Right.
I had a great 6-man. I had a good squash with Ricky Steamboat. I had a good Intercontinental title main event. And then I had an ass-tastic David Sammartino appearance. So overall, for me, it was a really good show.
Nugget of the night definitely goes to David.
I give it 2.5.
How many and a half?
2.5.
All right.
Not terrible.
I thought it was more entertaining than it should have been.
Oh yeah, I went in with no hope in this. I was like, okay, it's gonna be on in the background, and I'm gonna just be doing whatever I'm doing. And like 3 matches in, I literally was like, okay, what's gonna happen next?
This match right there, this card right here was anything better. This was better than anything I've seen on Monday Night Raw in 2020.
I want to see Mario and Renee Goulet on Monday Night Raw next week.
Well, one of them's dead, and the other one is living outside of a Buffalo Wings and Rings or whatever. So it's not gonna happen. But
he's living in a big Van Vader van down by the river.
He's eating expired cat food
and Vienna sausage.
No, he's eating Pop-Tarts and saying he's eating raviolis. Nate, that was like the best post ever, too.
Oh, you like that?
It really popped me. I laughed when I saw it.
But
Aaron, did you see it?
Huh?
I posted in the Motley Soup. Pop-Tarts are ravioli.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
I put up. This is up for debate. Pop-Tarts are ravioli.
Well, I just told you they're not.
Oh, God.
Did you see what I think is going to be the downfall of human civilization?
What?
Trash pandas.
Yes, I saw that yesterday.
Did you see that?
Yes.
Trash panda. You know what a trash panda is?
It's a raccoon.
It's a raccoon. And raccoons have thumbs, and they pick things up. That's how they can steal things. And when you see them and they pick it up and they run away with it, eventually they're going to pick up a semi-automatic weapon, and they're going to learn how to fire it. And they're going to see what it does, and it's going to be like, holy shit. That trash panda's going to be like, holy shit. Everything's scurried. And then they're just going to come up to you, and you're just walking down the street eating your fucking ravioli Pop-Tart, and they're going to fucking point their firearm at you and be like, shit, another trash panda. I'm just going to give it my food. And you're just going to give it to them.
I have a question, though. Aaron.
Okay.
When the trash pandas begin shooting and he runs out of bullets, who's going to reload?
The other trash panda.
But they don't. But how will they know? I mean, yes, anything can pick up a gun and just fire it. And all right, I can believe that. That's believable. I'm with you on that. But how will they know to release the clip and put new bullets in and put the clip back in? And
So what you're saying, Archie?
People like
so what you're saying, Archie?
People like me.
Hold on, Aaron.
Subservient to the trash panda that does not want them to murder them is going to be like, I will help you, trash panda.
Essentially, what Archie's saying is our generation will probably be okay because the trash panda will get one good day.
Right.
One good day. One good day out of the spray, and then the thing's empty. So as he evolves, though, the next generation might be in danger.
Right. Or if Aaron's helping them reload, we're all in danger.
Yeah. Be like, I will help you, Lord Trash Panda.
Lord Trash Man.
Please don't murder me and the ones that I love.
Sounds like a gimmick that AEW would put out. Lord Trash Panda.
So a couple of years ago, side story, and then we should probably sign off. But a couple of years ago, when my son was not...
I didn't think about the Trash Pandas trying to reload.
when my son was small still and not 19 feet tall, we were having... I had these fucking raccoons that lived in the tree behind my house, okay? And no matter what I did, I could not get rid of them. So we're having a bonfire one night. And I go inside to grab a beer, and I come back out. And, you know, we had seen the raccoons fucking around in the tree and coming down out of the tree and stuff throughout the evening. So I come back out after getting my beer, and my son is chucking marshmallows over to the raccoons. And I'm like, you little bastard, I'm trying to get rid of these things, and you're feeding them.
Because he understood what was coming. I had a premonition, Papa.
Uncle Aaron spoke of it on your show.
Yeah.
This thing will have a semi-automatic weapon. And he will thank us for the marshmallows and leave us be.
Yeah.
Thank you for serving me in the past, my son.
Yeah.
What noise do raccoons make?
Isn't it like a or something like that?
He's like,
leave the Maxons alone. They gave
Now,
us
if you
marshmallows
judge it
and
by
we'll
the great outdoors, they're like,
right.
he's like,
Right.
and that translates into in the past, young Sean Maxon
partook upon us the marshmallows.
fed the chosen one the marshmallows to bring us to this day.
And his
You shall be
You shall be spared.
you shall be spared by our hail of bullets.
And then I'd be like, oh, well, fuck the neighbors.
Yeah. Fuck you, Arnold. You're dead, buddy.
As usual, this show has gone off the rails.
But in an oh so wonderful place.
Absolutely. Love it. Aaron, any parting words for our listeners this week? Other than
Feed
check out for the Trash Pandas?
Hail, Lord Trash Panda.
Mr. Mitchell?
I'm going to buy a bulletproof vest, and I will not help them reload. Trash Pandas, I'm taking you out.
Thank you for joining us, everybody, this week on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And we will see you again next week. Have a great week, everybody.
Their favorite wrestler
Good night.
is Repo Man.